This is honestly my third time trying to record this. The first time, the screen recording did not work out, and the second time, I wasn't even recording my screen, and I was like almost done with it. So I've been talking for the past like 30 minutes, and it's 11:30 at night. So let's give this another go. Welcome to another episode of Season 3. I'm not sure if we can call this a proper episode, but we're just going to do it anyways. In this video, I'm going to go over a in-depth sort of analysis of the lap around Watkins Glen International. I know the last time we did this was Sonoma, and for those who were into the racing stuff, they seem to like the sort of breakdown of the back end of racing. Just like the other one, I'm not claiming to be a professional driver, a professional anything. I'm not claiming this is the right way to get around the circuit, but this is just the way I drove the track. I do have a lot of laps here on Watkins Glen. We finished second in the race on Sunday, and we're running for another second place finish in the first race, but unfortunately had a tire puncture, which took us out of contention. And while we didn't get the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, we were 7,000ths, I think, or 700ths off of it. So we were very, very close. We had good pace all weekend long, and I'm stoked to share a lap around one of my favorite circuits. So coming around the final corner here, turn 11 of this 3.1 mile track. Front strakes decently long, gives you enough time to talk to your crew, check your gauges, check your mirrors, prepare for the lap here. We're going fifth gear, about 130 miles an hour. In the BMW M2, we were braking around the 300 marker for turn 1. It's very, very important to focus on your exit for turn 1 as it leads to the longest straightaway on the track. And if you botch turn 1, it is very hard to put together a fast lap because so much, it's nearly the entire first sector is just turn 1. So rather than charging the braking zone for that extra 10th, it's be better to sort of slow down a little bit earlier to make sure you get a solid run coming out. So you can see we brake right here at the 300 board with the goal of trying to get into the apex, down 2 gears to third gear, 1, 2. Really turning the car. We even left some room on the apex curb here. We could probably get another tire width in the apex to really get into the grip level there. You can see the first part of that curbing is all good to hit. And at this point, we are already starting to get back to power, probably 40% power. And then right as we come off the curbing here, we are 100%. We probably would be able to get there a little sooner if we were completely on the apex, but we did miss it just a little bit here. So now we are committed to full power, opening up the hands, fourth gear. We did have track limits this weekend, so we weren't able to run off the curbing. We had to leave at least one tire on the exit curb. So using as much of the track as we can to prepare for the uphill S's. Turn 2 here. Coming right in to the curbing here with the goal of staying tight to set up for 3. In the BMW M2, everything was flat here, so it wasn't too lively through here, but if you didn't have the best car placement, you would have to lift out of it at the top of the hill. So just grab 5th gear, keeping the car tight to the right at the white line is where you can start to release back to the top of the hill here. And now you smooth your hands, just let it run out. In 5th gear, again, check your mirrors, talk to your crew, do what you need to do. 145 miles an hour, preparing for the bus stop here. In the BMW M2, we were braking around the 400 marker, and so 400 marker, down a gear to 4th, and you can see we take all of the curb here. The goal with the bus stop is straightening it out as much as you can rather than turning around everything. So we basically want to rotate the car, get a straight shot, rotate it again, and get a straight shot out. So we're taking this entire first curbing. I don't think there's a single wheel or tire on the asphalt. We are all 4 on the curbing here, about 100 miles an hour, just starting to decelerate. You can see we even brake a little bit in between just to settle the car because it's such a big, heavy car. It really gets disrupted by the curb. So as we come off that curb, adding a little brake just to help settle everything down. Taking all of the second curb as well. Again, there's not a single tire on the asphalt. With the repavement of the circuit about 7 years ago, there's a lot of grip in the middle of the bus stop. So at this point, we want to sort of open up the wheel, get the car rotated, and get the final shot out of the bus stop here. So you can see you commit to full power here. We probably could have went a little bit sooner if we just opened up the wheel a bit. And now we're going to run out the final end, only taking as much of the curb as we need to. to set up for the carousel here. Getting the car all the way driver's left here. This is an area we struggled with the entire race. We just did not have the car to get through the carousel and the laces of the boot. But this entire turn, should I say, is done with just modulating the throttle. If you need the car to rotate more, let off the gas. The car really will rotate, and if you're all good and kind of want to go straight, you can just commit to power. So as you get the car over to driver's left here, you immediately want to be looking down the hill for what I call a tree house or the flagger stand, because that is where your apex is, but it's very, very hard to see. So roll the speed, modulating the throttle, you'll start to see the roof of the tree house there in the distance, just underneath the number board. You can see the car in front of me is right on the money in terms of his apex. We are starting to feed back in power, but we unfortunately come off the curb just a little bit. Probably just a little bit too greedy on the power, and I think we just had too stiff of a front end to get any sort of weight transfer in the front. But committing to full power here, using all of the exit. You'll notice we are a little bit defensive here because the car behind me just would get really good runs through here. So I just had to keep him modest a little bit, defend, just to make sure he didn't try to stuff it down the inside. But ideally, we would be completely set up to the right for the laces of the boot. This is essentially where NASCAR does not go anymore. When they run Watkins Glen, so it's a really fun area. If you notice the track map, it looks like a boot, which is why this is called the laces of the boot. We went down an extra gear to third just because we were defensive, but on a fast lap, you could keep it right in fourth in the BMW M2. Late apex, trying to get the power as soon as you can for the run down into the toe, and using all of the exit. Fourth gear, about 120 miles an hour. There's a ton of grip here at the toe of the boot. It's massively uphill, so we want to use that to our advantage. You can brake really, really light here, just past the 200 board, hard brake, down to third gear, and let the car roll to the apex and help decelerate up the hill. You want to wait out wide a little bit, then apex towards the end of it, you'll see where the curb starts to get white with people running it over and taking the paint off it. But at this point, our goal is to commit to power as soon as we can, not slide the car. We have a long uphill straightaway, but it is very easy to lose grip on the exit here. So committing to power in third gear, but being smooth with our application and our hands, running all the way to the exit of the track. You'll notice there's probably a good 2 feet of tarmac past the white line that you want to use to really maximize your exit here. So using all the track, you even hear some of the dirt get kicked up. We're using probably dragging half a tire over the exit there, going into the heel of the boot here. Keeping at the top of fourth gear, looking for the 200 board right there on my left. Every time I'd brake at the 200, I'd always tell myself you could go another 25 feet later. So lots of grip here. Again, want to roll as much speed as we can into this corner. The entry is very inviting because it is so wide, but if you notice on the track map, it is a decreasing radius corner, so you got to be careful to not get too greedy on your entry and have to really check up on the exit. So I tend to just to wait a skosh before turning in and then coming right into the curbing here and getting back the power as soon as we can, as there's a lot of camber, a lot of grip in here, going down 1 gear to third and committing to power as soon as we can. Again, the exit of 9 also had track limits. Not only were there sandbags and the sponsorship signs, but there was room and that there were some bolts and hardware on the exit curbing, so I was a little worried to use more of the curbing, as I feel like that could be where I got my puncture in the race before. But thankfully, it's not a super long straightaway running up into 9. Turn 9 is probably the most awkward corner on the track, in my opinion. It just feels like you can never really get it right. There's a massive uphill, so you want to use that to your advantage when braking and turning. So you can go really late, brake really hard. Just a nice stab of the brake, come off, downshift back to third gear. And then wait before coming into the apex. It's tempting to just wrap the curbing around there, but you'll notice how much you have to slow down and wait on the power, where if you kind of get up to the tabletop, get the car rotated, you're able to get a nice straight shot coming out of it. But just be careful, you do lose a lot of grip once you get up to the top. You can see we're actually pretty loose there at the top as the hill starts to wind down. And the sort of scary part of this corner is how close the wall is on the exit. You'll notice we use all the curb here, but that wall is a mere 2 or 3 feet from there. So very, very hard to to not hit the wall if you're going that way. But again, keep your eyes down the track. Don't look at the wall, and you should be all right. But grabbing fourth gear on the exit, going into the final two corners here, turn 10, one of my favorites. As we enter the turn here, you can see we're using all of that little bit of track. There's probably a foot of track past the white line, and we're just using as much as we can, probably even putting half a tire in the grass. Going to the 100 board, hard lift at the 100 board, and turning the car in right away. So with that combination of a hard lift and turning the car, and you're really putting the weight on the front of the car and helping get the car gripped to turn into the corner. So if you're lazy with your sort of mechanics of lifting and turning in, you might find it harder to take this corner without any brakes. But if you can really drive the car deep, lift and turn the car immediately, you'll notice the car actually turns quite nicely in here with the amount of camber that the track naturally has. Coming right up to the apex curbing, but not hitting the apex curbing, at least in the BMW M2, with the goal here of just carrying as much speed, floating as much speed as we can through the apex here and getting back to maintenance throttle on the exit. Again, not using, we have track limits here, so we can't use a ton of the curbing here, but honestly, you need to hustle to get the car back to the left to set up for the final corner. So if you use too much of the exit, you're going to have a hard time getting set up for a very important turn 11. But once you exit, basically putting the car right back to driver's left. You'll see as soon as we get over to the left and our hands are straight, we're coming off the throttle, getting onto the brake. There's a lot going on here, a very short amount of time. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most difficult corners on the track because of how quick everything happens and how important the corner is. So as soon as we get the car to the left, we are stopping the brake pedal, keeping it in fourth gear, and just sort of rolling and coasting and making sure the car is under control to get us through turn 11 here. So brake, kind of coasting for a second and feeding right back the power as we come into the apex. I've seen people jump this curbing. I never really liked how it felt, especially in the M2. So as soon as we get into the curbing, there's tons of grip here. Eyes up because the wall comes very, very close on the exit, feeding in the power for the next long straightaway. But again, the gripe of this corner is the exit. You'll see you're basically want to scrape your mirror on the Armco here on the wall. You can see the car in front of me, how close they are to the wall. There's really no other way to do it if you want to go fast. You have to use this entire curbing. In the first race, I was behind a competitor who just completely pancaked their whole left side of the car on the wall. So this is probably the gnarliest part of turn 11 and maybe one of the most gnarly areas on the track is that you really got to commit through here and to be fast, you got to use as much of the track as you can. So now we're back on the front straightaway up to fifth gear, crossing the start-finish line for a lap of Watkins Glen International Raceway, and then you get prepared to do it all again. I think the race 2, we did 20 laps, so you can see just how much goes into just one lap and how much information there is to process at each little area of the corner. So I will leave the full uninterrupted lap after this if you want to check it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me know what you thought of the lap around Watkins Glen, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.